Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of Squadron Talk. I am one of your hosts, Ben, but with me is my other host. I'm going to give him quite the intro, even though he needs no introduction. He is, in honor of Game of Thrones, which I'm sure everybody here loves, he is Jonathan Medina, first of his name, hero of F&Ms, slayer of sick deals, and Papa of Pack to Power. John, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I was just drinking tea during the introduction.
Well, hopefully it didn't burn you too much.
No, it's delicious. It's Earl Grey.
Earl Grey, my favorite.
Is it really?
It is. I like a nice, subtle hot tea.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know Ben had such a wondrous introduction for me. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
All right, so we have a few topics that we're going to go over. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about this exciting new format, Oathbreaker.
Oathbreaker.
Break it down, what we think about it. I know John had some games that he was able to get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Move on to some Commander possible drama.
Yeah, It has a little bit to do with Oathbreaker, so we'll parlay into that.
Parlay indeed. And then finally we'll end with some, of course, Modern Horizons spoilers. It is getting hot and heavy with just a few days in, and we're going to talk about a few of our favorites.
I thought you were going to say it's getting hot in here, like Nelly.
No. We're not gonna take it back to 2003. The people can't handle that yet. We got to ease into that.
If we had an editor, they would drop like the Nelly song in there.
All right. Well, Medina, why don't we get started? What do you got for us?
Yeah, why don't you guys come and take a ride with us as we talk about Oathbreaker, the new format that is just everywhere in the last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's big when the professor talks about it.
Yeah, the professor has joined in to the chorus of Oathbreakers singing Oathbreaker's praise, and then also we had Jumbo Commander did a video. So we're going to link these in the description, by the way. So you get to see Oathbreaker by Jumbo Commander, Oathbreaker by the Professor, and there's various other people. The Command Zone also mentioned it on their Variant podcast. And
that's true.
Yeah, so lots of people talking about it. It is a new format, and basically it's like Commander, but instead of a legendary creature, you get a Planeswalker in your command zone, and that Planeswalker has what's called a signature spell, and so that also resides in your command zone. Now, when your Planeswalker is on the battlefield, you may cast your signature spell, and so the other thing that makes it a little bit different than Commander, there's two other things, and you can correct me if there's other stuff, Ben. But
I will always correct you.
Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. But there is. I'm trying to move this. I feel weird with the way the mic is pointing. But you start at 60 life.
No, that's incorrect. I will correct you right here. You start at 60 cards.
60 cards.
20 life. Look at that. Correction 1. If this is a drinking game, everybody, prepare the Earl Grey. Because winter is coming.
I need more tea. That's the problem.
You'll need more tea for sure.
So okay, let's scrub that.
Yep.
Okay, you start at 20 life.
Correct.
In 60 cards, and essentially it's 58 cards. Okay, because the commander or the Oathbreaker, which is your legendary Planeswalker, is in the command zone, and then also your spell is in the command zone. So those two things are part of your deck. So the other cards you have 58 other cards. And,
that is correct.
Is there anything else we should say in the format introduction before diving into the content of it?
Yeah, it's also a singleton format, which we hadn't mentioned yet. So it's in that regard, it's a lot like Commander as well. And I don't know if you said it right there, but the spell cannot be cast unless your Oathbreaker is out.
Right. And one other little caveat about the spell, it must return to the command zone after being cast. So like some of the initial stuff that I was trying to break the format, right? And I'm like,
Shocker.
wow, I'm trying to break the format. And one
Oh,
of
they
the
gave me
things,
this nice thing. I want to break it.
it's just like, what's that on that movie? Oh man, I had it just on the tip of my tongue. Fight Club, where he just pummels the guy. Have you seen that movie?
Many moons ago.
Okay, and
Many moons
then
ago.
and the guy, he gets up, the guy's face is just obliterated. He's like, I just wanted to destroy something beautiful. That
Jeez.
was like, whoo! Got super dark in here.
There you go.
So, anyways, transitioning back to Oathbreaker. So
I
I'm
mean, I think you did successfully.
trying to break the format, and one of the things is like something like Life from the Loam. You know, if you're like, oh, put this in the command zone and then play it, it goes to the graveyard, and then you get all kinds of shenanigans, right? Can't do it. Or Raven's Crime was another one. You know, just like put it in the command zone and then just strip people's hand. You know. You can't do that because once you cast it, it goes back to the command zone.
Right. It actually, according to the official rules, it can only exist in the command zone and on the stack. So things like remand can't bounce it back to your hand, things like that. So only the stack, only the command zone. Continue.
Yeah, very good update there. So yeah, I started playing the format, trying to break it, because one of the first decks that I stumbled upon was the new Narset Parter of Veils, and Windfall. Right, those two go together like peas and carrots, right? You know, you put down your Narset and then you cast your Windfall and you strip everybody's hand, and they go down to 0 cards. You go up to whatever the number was, 6 or 5 or however many the most cards were, and then you are sitting pretty nice, right? So I like the deck. I was like, hey, and I put a little meme up on Twitter and said, look at this fun and interactive deck in Oathbreaker. At this time, I didn't really dive into the Oathbreaker format, so it was me being a little bit facetious.
Yeah, I think that's where everybody starts, right? They know like one broken cool thing. They're like, oh, this format's dumb because I can do this one cool thing.
It's trash, right? And I'm just like, oh, this is dumb. Everyone's just gonna. But then as I started to build the deck, I realized that this is a problem because you can't win. Okay, if nobody has cards, it's hard to win, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, it's easier to win if nobody has cards, but like, you do the trick, and then how do you win? So like, I'm like, okay, going to the tank. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be discarding cards to wheel effects, so maybe I'll run like a Runechanter's Pike and like a Ink Moth Nexus or something like that, and then it started to become like, well, what else am I going to run? Am I going to run other infect stuff? Is it be like mono blue infect with these wheel effects, like with some proliferation? I started to really like try to go deep, and the deck just doesn't have. What I like to have is like a synergistic thing, something that goes with the Planeswalker, something that goes with the spell, and they all build on each other. So the win condition builds on the Planeswalker and the spell. And what I found was those win conditions that build on that, like the rack or something like that, are just super weak and really hard to like fit into the deck without it being clunky. And I don't like that. So there certainly are options. You can go with like Rise from the Dark. Is it Rise from the Dark Realms? I don't think it's Rise from the Dark Realms, but it's a blue spell that says you get a zombie for every instant or sorcery in your graveyard. It's Rise from something, or you can go the Runechanter's Pike way, or you can go with there's an artifact that when you draw a card they take a damage. Psychosis Crawler.
Yep.
Stuff like that. But I just didn't like. The long story short, I didn't end up building an Narset deck because it felt very clunky and just bad. It just felt like it does one trick, it's an annoying trick, but you can't win the game afterward.
And that's key, right? You can't win with a trick. So if you can't win with a trick when you combine your Oathbreaker with a card, it's probably not good enough if you're looking to combo out, right?
Right. Like, okay, so nobody has a hand now, but maybe they have a bunch of guys on the board and they just start beating you.
Which they're going to beat you specifically, right?
Yeah, they're just going to start hitting you, Or
they're not
maybe
going after
like,
anybody else.
Okay, you stripped my hand. I'm going to play by Gideon. I got this 4/4 now. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you again. and you're like, well, wait, let me find my Inkmoth Nexus, or one of these times I'm going to get my Runechanter's Pike or my Psychosis Crawler, and then they just blow it up, and then it's like, okay, well, now what? Well, now you have no hand, okay,
Right.
So you have to get past that. So I ended up building a deck that I really like. It's Saheeli Sublime Artificer, which is the new Saheeli from War of the Spark. And my signature spell is Whir of Invention. Now, I just love this combination, because at first it feels kind of like, I don't know, why is that? What does Whir of Invention do with Saheeli? The whole deck is like cantrips and low-costing artifacts. So the idea is you play Saheeli, and then you put a bunch of artifacts and cantrips down, and you make a bunch of servos.
Yep.
And then you use Whir of Invention as like a kind of like an utility spell to go get stuff that you might need, like a Solemn Simulacrum or Oblivion Stone, or even another mana rock, and you make a creature with it. So every time you cast it, you make a creature, and it becomes cheaper every time because the creatures can improvise, and you can tap with it like that. So you have a lot of things in the deck that interact with that. Like one thing you might get with the Whir of Invention is the blue amulet, or the blue medallion. What is it? Sky
Sapphire.
Medallion or Sapphire Medallion. Yeah, so you could get a Sapphire Medallion, and that reduces the cost even by more. It reduces it by 1 because it's blue, and then you could tap it, so reduce it again. And then if you cast it, you make a servo, so you can reduce it again. So you get the idea. Like it kind of cheats the command tax idea, right? So the whole thing, okay, how do you win though? Right? How do you win? Because like we just talked about, we need a way to win. This sounds like a bunch of dirtling. But
fun dirtling.
It's all cohesive, okay? We win by one of my favorite spells in Magic. It's Polymorph, but of the mass variety. So mass Polymorph, you make a bunch of these servos, and then you mass Polymorph, which means you exile them all, and then you reveal cards from the top of your deck till you reveal that many creatures. So the magic number 6. I think there's only 6 creatures in the deck. And what it will get is it'll get a Perforos. Okay, I hope you know where this is going. It'll get a Mere Battlesphere. Okay, so that's 5 creatures. So you got a Perforos, Mere Battlesphere, Inferno Titan.
Classic.
Yeah,
Classic
exactly.
Titan.
You love that from your nostalgia block, right?
Love it. Yeah, it's a whole
great.
block.
and then you get you also could get Brutaclad, Solemn, like I mentioned before, and then the other one is Blightsteel Colossus. Okay,
the powerhouse right there.
The powerhouse. So if all those come in play at once, everyone will die because Perforos has all those triggers to resolve. It's over 10 triggers or close to 10, and it'll deal 20 damage to all my opponents. So that was the deck that I built.
How'd it do?
So the first, I played 1-on-1 versus somebody who built a green-black. It was a Garruk Relentless and Victimized deck, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like a Reanimator deck, but it just destroyed that deck 3 times in a row. So, because it's really difficult, right? It's like I make some Thopters, and if they try to put pressure, I just block them, and then on turn 4 or 5, then I just Synthetic Destiny or Mass Polymorph, and all my whole team comes out, and it's just like you can't win. You're at either 2 life or you're dead, or So that's how that one went. Then I played 1-on-1 versus Gideon and Armageddon.
Is this the new Gideon Blackblade, or is this okay?
Gideon Blackblade. That did not go well. He played a bunch of creatures early, and then he just beat me up. The other thing he played was Jit. So he got Jit on the board, which means that I can't keep servos on the board. And like my whole combo crumbled. So it was kind of cool because like I felt like, oh, this deck is really powerful, and then I played against the Gideon deck and just got stomped. And then I played a multiplayer game with the Gideon deck and a persistent petitioner deck, and then a meme deck, which was the new Jace and 58 mana severance and 58 islands, which was kind of funny because
fun.
He was trying to kill us, and like he could. if his stuff would just resolve in sequence, and of course I was countering stuff because I didn't want to lose, and the persistent precisioner deck was like milling the Gideon player, but in the end I think the Gideon player just ran us all over with like Brimaz and stuff. So that deck is really good, the Gideon deck. Now you brewed a deck, right?
A theory crafting deck, of course, because I tried around my area for some Oathbreaker. The problem is, which I think might be the biggest hurdle for the format to overcome, is people's previous engagement with other casual formats, right? It seems like everything is a flash in the pan. You had the tiny leaders. No one plays it. Brawl, no one really plays it. So I was like trying to drum up some excitement. I was like, showing everybody this format, and they said, yeah, so Tiny Leaders 2.0. Or
that's like a death knell for any new format. It's just
exactly.
It's like Tiny Leaders. Yeah,
so how do you overcome that? I think it's just brute force, right? You just have to keep plowing away, and maybe I'll have to build multiple decks to hand out so people can play with it. But so that's where I'm at right now. I haven't been able to convince anyone to play. We're still going to try. But the one that I've theory crafted, I was going to use the new Teferi, the 3-drop Time Raveler with Silence.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
For me, it sounds like a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it sounds like people will not be playing Magic.
Yeah, so I was like, I took to heart what I heard on the Jumbo Commander, which was things that sound great but aren't great, right? So you're like a 2-drop, I don't know, say even something that a one-time effect costs 2, and you're like, great, did it. Well, then next time it costs 4. That's now you're above curve.
Oh, you're talking about for the signature spell, right?
For the signature spell, yeah.
Yeah, so like the first time it's 2 mana, but then it's 4 mana, right?
Yeah, and then it's above curve, and then 6 is just out of reach. So you really want something either A, that's going to win the game, or B, that is plausibly repeatable. So I was like, okay, they can't play anything other than sorcery. If I hit silence, it locks them out for that turn. So what can I do to take advantage of them not being able to play spells? And I came up with like Luminarch Ascension.
Wow. Yeah, I love this, by the way. This idea sounds really cool because like once you get the Luminarch down, you silence a couple people to get your counters, and then you're just making angels.
And really, I just need one because the rest of the deck is some more walkers and proliferation. So I just need to get the one on there, proliferate, get it up to where I need to, silence when I need to, almost like a counter spell for the whole turn, which is nice, and then angel it out. So that's where I'm at. It's pretty much all in my head. So, it's at 100% win rate, so it's great. But
unlike my deck, which got creamed by the Gideon deck.
But I mean, as a blue-white mage, that's where I would be in some iteration.
Would you think of anything else for your signature spell, or do you think like you have to stay with that kind of like, silence? I mean, Orm's Chant is probably better in that spot, right?
Which, I mean, your vast knowledge greatly outweighs mine, so please illuminate me.
Oh, well, Orm's Chant is basically a silence, but then you can pay another white so they can't attack.
Is it 2 mana?
No, it's 1 mana, and then it's a kicker. I believe it's a kicker card. So let me look it up so I don't give the wrong. This was like when I first got into Magic. One of the friends was like all about this. He was like Scepter Chant. Look at that. Caw! I love so it's a kicker card. It says it's 1 white, and it says target player can't play spells this turn. If you pay the kicker cost, creatures can't attack this turn.
Yeah, okay, so that might be a strict upgrade. So see, that's why it's theory crafting and not on actual paper.
No, I didn't like. Okay, I what I meant is, would you go a different strategy? Because you said you're a blue-white mage, so obviously Teferi's like the best blue-white walker you can probably have, right?
Right, and again, because of the whole repeatability, you don't want the like a 5-drop Venser, or I mean, as nice as Big Daddy Teferi is, a 5-drop Teferi, you're not gonna be able to play him more than a couple times. So,
but it is nice that you get to untap your lands and then have mana for your signature spell with Big Daddy Teferi, right?
It is nice. But he can also be in the deck.
That's
So,
true. That's true. Yeah.
um, so that's where I'm leaning. What I also, what was I going with right there? The Yeah, silence is or orange chant is where I go with just that build. So like with
Uh
Teferi,
huh.
I don't think that would obviously be the signature spell I would use for just generic blue white
Right.
spells.
What
But I
would you
think
do? Would you do like just a removal spell or like a counter spell, like spell
I just don't know
pierce?
if that's good enough. And that was where I was having trouble with
Yeah.
because I don't know. I feel like you want that's where I like where you were going with as a tutor, right? Tutor seems like a good signature spell
Right.
because you can toolbox out what you need at that time.
Especially one
So,
that can be reduced by things.
right,
Like I was talking to you about earlier, the idea of elves with the signature spell of Court of Calling, right?
right.
Because that could be reduced by the elves you get out. So I think it's a fun format. The one thing that really see kind of the problem we're having here is like I mentioned like spell pierce, right? Well,
Hmm.
spell pierce is not good unless you have your planeswalker out because
Yeah,
you can't cast the signature spell unless the planeswalker's out. And I think that's super balancing to the format because people are talking about, oh, I'll build Flash Hulk, and it's just like, well, okay, what planeswalker are you going to use? You can't really build a mono blue Flash Hulk because you need green, right? So it
right.
needs to be a blue green planeswalker. And then what combo are you using? Like there's no blue green Flash Hulk combo that is all on its own a kill. Like you almost need like 5 colors to Flash Hulk kill, you know? And then on top of that, the planeswalker you find, like the more colors you get,
Harder to cast.
the harder it is to cast and the more mana it's to cast. So that means like let's say you get a 3-color planeswalker which is 4 mana. Well then that means you're not gonna like Flash Hulk until at least turn 4, right? Like because
Hmm.
you have to have the planeswalker and then the extra mana to flash. So
Yeah,
I think that's super balancing for the format. I like it.
yeah. And another reason why I was going to silence, which I discussed with you earlier, is the fact that what a lot of people are going to want to do is have a turn where they can play both their Oathbreaker and their signature spell to ensure that they can do their combo or whatever power
Right.
play they want to do. Well, on the stack of them casting their Oathbreaker, hit them with the silence. That way, they won't be able to play their signature spell that turn. Gives the whole table a chance to kill off their planeswalker, making it next turn 2 more mana to cast, harder to do, put them off of their mana sequencing, and in that way you've almost like
Yeah,
time
it's
walked
kind of
them.
like a time walk. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so
I like it.
I like it a lot. I think the format looks great. I hope more important people than myself keep championing it, and it can be a thing that people play in between, like they said in other things, in between games of Commander, or I like it because it's almost like a kitchen table Commander game because it's not as big, not
uh,
the cards aren't as big, the games aren't as long, so you can typically should be able to build it cheaper, and people gravitate more towards planeswalkers than they do legendary characters. I feel. Um, Whereas I think especially for the modern player,
uh,
I think modern players like planeswalkers more than just legendary creatures. Whereas it might be in reverse for people who've been playing longer.
well, I feel like the format as a whole is more powerful,
Well, yeah,
and the reason, like, I think the way that the format is because, like, I was talking about with the planeswalkers and the signature spell thing being balanced because you have to put your planeswalker in play first. Well, that also I think kind of like encourages a bit of degeneracy in a sense because you have like this is one of my fears. I'm not fear, like I'm not afraid, right? But
you
one
look
of
afraid.
so like one of the things that is like worrisome or could be worrisome for someone who wants the format to exist and to thrive is this idea that because things are shoved into that small window because like the idea would be play your planeswalker, play your signature spell, gain value, right? Because the most feel bad thing to do is to play your planeswalker, have it get killed, and then try to play it again, and then you play your signature spell. So anybody who's like optimizing the deck is like, I'm going to try to do all these things at once. What that leads to is a lot of fast mana, a lot of very aggressive low mana starts. I started finding I cut a lot of commander cards from my deck. So my deck was like mini commander deck, right?
Which is probably where everyone starts off, right?
Right. I was playing it with just the cards from Commander that I know are good in Commander in Oathbreaker. But those cards, like, for example, Vandal Blast, classic Commander card, but it's 5 mana to, like, Vandal Blast.
Right.
And it's like, that's too much, you know? It's almost like by force is, like, better than Vandal Blast, you know? Because there's probably, like, a few key artifacts, like 3 mana, you could take out like 2 artifacts, you know, for 3 mana. Like that feels like more on curve. And what I noticed, and the reason the Gideon deck was kicking my butt, is he had Chrome Mox and Mox Diamond.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, okay, like you fall a turn behind in those low turns. Also, like, let's just say like combo out the window, somebody gets a Planeswalker on turn 2 is much better than someone get a Planeswalker on turn 3. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I'm starting to feel like the curve of my deck is like, and it's not just because of Saheeli deck, the curve of my deck is moving down. I mean, I have 2 mana rocks, like 2 mana rocks, and I'm kind of like, do I want these? Like, this might be too, like, is a Signet too slow in this format?
So, would you say that, let's play a little word comparison game. Would you say Commander is to Standard what Oathbreaker is to Modern, where Standard and Commander play at a higher CMC, right? A little slower, you can build up longer, have longer, potentially more engaging games, whereas Oathbreaker, shorter, faster, you got to get out there quicker than everybody else. You don't have the room to breathe, and the margin of error is infinitely shorter.
I feel like right now there's uneven, like, you know, you could sit at an Oathbreaker table. I'm sure there's just uneven like situations, you know,
power levels all through the roof.
Yeah, because people are playing still Commander style, and then just getting probably demolished by people who are building it like an Oathbreaker deck, you know, which is faster, leaner. You know, some of these cards that, again, you know, in Commander, you have like board wipes that are like Blasphemous Act. I had to cut Blasphemous Act because I'm making tokens and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of tokens. They're going to have dudes. And then Blasphemous Act is going to be relevant, right?
Right.
But it's too slow. And the thing is they don't have a lot of guys. They just have chunky, like hard-hitting guys because the thing is, it's the 20 life.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like I don't have to go wide and do, like, 40 damage. I just have to punch you a few times with a 5/5, you know? And so, or a 4/4, you know? It's like, that takes a big, like, hit, you know? And so, I'm realizing that things like Blasphemous Act, things like, you know, those kind of things, I just put Whip Flare, you know? Because it dodges my tokens, and then it just clears off the board of all the, like, small damage that I'll be taking in the early game. You know, and I hope that I could just take a couple of hits from the 5/5s. I also have a Galvanic Blast because, like, nice 4 damage, efficient.
Yeah, why not?
Like, it's almost like a Path to Exile in the format, you know. Or it also deals with a Planeswalker, right? It's 4 loyalty right off a Planeswalker. So, like, you know, I'm finding that you have to think differently. Like, I would never run a Galvanic Blast in a Commander deck or a Lightning Bolt or anything like that. But I think in Oathbreaker, having a Galvanic Blast or a Lightning Bolt, I think that's like reasonable because you're dealing with Planeswalkers now, not legendary creatures, you know?
Now, are you thinking of, when you're doing your deck design, are you thinking of multiplayer, or are you thinking of more of a single opponent format, with bolts or Galvanic Blast? Are you thinking
that's awesome in multiplayer, I believe.
Gotcha.
Because it's just like, I would not build a Commander deck without a Swords to Plowshare. You know what I mean? But to me, like, that's a Swords to Plowshare because four loyalty off a Planeswalker is huge. And what I can see is, like, situations where people are going to ultimate. And, like, for me to win, I need them not to ultimate, you know? And so, like...
Ultimates are bad.
Yeah, I could see that. Or someone attacking me with something where, like, I might need to, like, kill it, you know? a lot of times my removal, I don't like play the game where I'm the police in Commander, where it's
That's
like,
my job.
hey, you can't do that. It's too powerful. Like, I just think in my head, is that going to like affect me? Like, if they're going to ultimate their Planeswalker and win the game, then yeah, I'm going to shoot it with a Galvanic Blast, you know? If they're going to ultimate their Planeswalker and kill this guy, like, I don't care about that, you know? Even if it, like, temporarily puts them ahead, like, to me, I'm just trying to get to that momentum where I can just, like, Synthetic Destiny or something like that and, like, get everyone. So I will run something like a Galvanic Blast because it gives me those strategic moments where I can deal with both a Planeswalker or a creature, where if you have something like a Pongify that only deals with a creature, right?
Yep.
And also, like, Pongify gives them a 3/3, which in Commander, it's like, who cares, right? But, like, in Oathbreakers, like, that's a 3/3, man. That's still going to deal some damage. So, like, it's little, you have to think differently when you're building the decks. There's a lot of things that you want to think about, even Swords of Plowshare, because it's gaining them the life, which is relevant in the format. It's much more relevant than in Commander. So,
and how excited are you that a multiplayer format is actually feasible for an aggro player? Like, that's what I've heard a lot. People are saying that aggro is actually viable, and
right.
to a lesser extent, so is mill, which things like that are just almost unheard of in other multiplayer formats.
Right. I think it's great. I think it's really great. And like you said, the mill player, he was playing the Persistent Petitioner deck, and I mean, he hit someone with that, mill them 12 cards. That's like a quarter of their deck.
Yeah, right off the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, if he gets into a place where he's like untapping those, like, Prophet of Krufix is not banned, So, like, if you have a Persistent Petitioner deck with Prophet of Krufix, like, you're untapping, tap them, mill 12, untap them, tap them, mill 12. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's could be some gross things. Also, you could flash them in. So, like, you play a Prophet, you untap, and then you, like, at certain point, just flash in 4 Persistent Petitioners and then just start milling people, Like,
that's pretty sick.
I think, there's a lot of cool design space. I think it's very cool that you can be an aggro deck. It's very cool you can be a mill deck. These are really scary things. A burn deck. Like, a burn deck is real. Things like, what's the little, the 2-drop? It's 2 red. It's basically every time you cast something that's 3 mana or less, it deals them 2 damage.
Eidolon the Great Revel?
Yeah, Eidolon the Great Revel. Cards like that, and like, Sulfuric Vortex, and, Flame Rift, all that kind of stuff could really take down a table, with the new Tibalt where they can't gain life. Like, that kind of deck that'll put hurting on the deck. So I think I'm really excited about the format. I love new formats. I'm a big sucker for them. So take that with a grain of salt. I love to build new formats. It makes me think about design. It makes me think about engineering decks and beating the meta, and breaking the format. I love that. It's fun.
Right. And if anyone can take anything away from this segment, you heard it here first. Medina is a sucker. So I guess with that, we can move on. I think we've covered this.
Yeah.
To our next topic, which is Commander with Planeswalkers.
Planeswalkers. Okay, so
isn't that just Oathbreaker?
That's Oathbreaker, I guess. So I heard this chat that happened, and I got a little bit like tilted because so here's what happened. The mothership hosted the Commander Advisory Board or Commander Advisory Group. It hosted like 3 or 4 of the members of that on the weekly MTG podcast. Okay, I'm not tilted about that. I love that they did that. I think it's great.
He's not a fan of Stibbs, everybody.
No, Stibbs is great. I think they're all great. Okay, I like all of them. And I talked. Shivam was talking mostly. I don't want to say he was mostly the one talking, but he was talking a lot on the podcast. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think he has a great personality. But like my philosophy for Commander and playstyle do not match his at all. Okay, he is more, I think, about kind of just having a good time playing. Not that I'm not. It sounds so weird because it's not that I'm not.
You heard it here first, everybody. Medina is not a fan of fun.
I don't like having a good time. Okay, guys, if you're having a good time, it's not good. No, but I play that like my enjoyment is wrapped up in because I'm a designer at heart. My enjoyment is wrapped up in watching my design contend with the table, and winning is like the design working. Okay, and so like to me, it's not like, okay, I'm a Spike, I need to win, for my self image. And, it's because I built something and I want to see it go. Like, I want to see the car turn, the wheels turn. I want to see the engine move. Like, and so, like, when it doesn't move, it falls apart. Then I feel like, oh, man, that didn't work. And it sends me right back to the brewing board, if you will. And I feel like, I would be happy with, like, just destroying a table on turn 5. Like, I feel great about that. I feel like, man, I built the machine. It went, it did its thing. It contended with the table and it won. I think Shivam would be a little bit like not happy about that, because he would be feeling like, hey, we should all be considerate of each other, and in the sense that we should make sure everyone else is having a good time. And to me, like, maybe it sounds selfish or whatever, but I don't feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that someone's having a good time. Like, there are so many factors that determine whether someone's having a good time or not. It's not only whether my deck is good or not, or the power level is mismatched or not. It could be just like what they brought onto the table, from their house or from their day at work. Now, I want everybody to enjoy their time playing with me. I'm not saying, hey, man, whatever. But at the same time, like, I guess I don't make it like a personal goal to make sure that everyone's having the good time that they should have when they're playing with me. I'm there to test my deck, and I hope that everyone has a good time. But if they don't, I don't also take it upon myself and say, oh, that's my fault.
Right, and that's the joy of the play group mentality, right? Maybe his play group is a little more open to his ideas,
casual,
and it works for their group, whereas your group might be a little more
I don't really have
stickier.
a play group. I just play at the shop with whatever pod will let me play with them.
Let you play. So many of them have had the turn
Nobody
5
lets me
kill.
play
They're
with
like,
them.
not so much more
I'm not
Medina.
No, it doesn't sound like that. But no, I just mean like whoever's down, I'll play with them, whatever. And we don't ever check like power levels, like, oh, what's your power level? Sometimes I get a feel like, okay, these guys are playing, like not optimal decks, but I don't really get that feel until we're in the middle of the game.
Does it make you change your game plan? Do
No.
you? Yeah, you don't. You just keep the pedal of the metal and say, well, they'll learn to match me.
I feel like okay, like if I kill them faster, we can move on. Like
you can move on, or they can move on.
They can move on. Anyone can move on. Like, what's worse is being stuck in a game where it's like everything's going slow and I'm like not pressing the end button. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't feel, to me it feels weird. Like if I'm just holding them at bay, like hostage. Like, no, you guys are gonna play with me. You have to wait until I kill everybody. To me it's like let's just end this, and like we made a mistake. Like
Mistakes were made.
And to be honest, there are like limits. Okay, so I built the I know this is way off topic, guys, but whatever. You're here for a podcast, right? So we'll
They're here for the topics, not the podcast.
Well, the topic's still coming. You're not getting cheated. You're getting an extra topic.
Bonus.
So like bonus topics is what you're getting. So like I built Vanifar, right? And that deck would win on like turn 4 or 5, which to me is not like Spike CEDH, okay? Like CEDH or Spike is like 2 or 3. Turn 2 or 3 if you're winning, that's like competitive EDH or like spiky. But the Vanifar deck would win on turn 4 or 5 every time. And the most annoying thing about it is it would take me like literally 5 to 10 minutes to win. And it's just the worst because you have to dig through your deck for certain combinations. It's not always the same combination. It's like, okay, then I'm going to untap it with this. and then I'm going to go get, this person, and then I'm going to copy this with body double, and then, you have to think through it like, oh, what do I get now? I'm going to return a forest and then untap this, and, it's just really super complicated. And that was the fun thing about playing the deck, is that you had this complicated, puzzle you had to figure out, but that was not fun for anyone. First of all, the game was ending, and they had to sit there and watch for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
So it's like a Nexus of Fate deck where you're just waiting for your opponent to
It's not that bad, but I had to put the deck away because that was not fun for anyone. Like, and it was like I was winning on those turns. So what would happen is they're like, all right, kill your Vanifar. I'm like, well, dive down. Okay. Now it's hexproof. Anybody else? No, nothing. Okay. Continue.
Anybody else got it?
Okay, yeah. And it's just like obnoxious, right? So I just stopped playing that deck because it's just super obnoxious.
All right. So quick aside. So turn 2, turn 3 is competitive EDHTO.
Right.
Turn 4 consistently is what? What do you consider one turn slower than competitive?
Well, turn 4 consistently at turn 4 or 5 is like, to me, like my threshold. And what I mean by that is, like, with the Vanifar deck, I'm like, okay, I don't like this. And maybe it was just because it took so long to win once you got to that turn. Maybe it feels like a turn 4 or 5 kill and it was just over. I might feel differently. But, like, I found out that I don't like decks that win at that quick of speed. So turn 4 is just too fast. But I still feel like that's, like, if you want to rate it on a level, like CEDH and, like Turbo, EDH would be like a 10, like a power level. And I feel like, a turn 4 or 5 win is like a 8, maybe a 9,
Where do you think most EDH players play at?
Between
6?
4 and 6.
4 and 6?
Most EDH players are between 4 and 6. 4 is like more theme-oriented decks, stuff that, I say anything with a Soul Ring in it is probably still 4, There are some decks without Soul Rings, without, ramp spells and stuff like that. Those things are in like 3, like just there's no comprehension of like the stuff that you need for the EDH deck to tick. And usually those decks are not really functioning. I think if you have a functioning deck that has ramp spells and draws cards and, plays things, I think you're at a 4 at least. And then, you're probably between 4 and 6. I think 6 is when you start getting into that focus range where, you might have an end button, like a combo or something like that. I think most of my decks are in the 7 range. They play just above the 6,
Okay.
Just because of the build, right? I feel like I put so much thought and energy into building these decks and practicing with them. Like, it puts them at a certain power level. Like, even the Corlash deck is not like a competitive EDH deck. It's not, I don't know. It's Corlash, man. Nobody plays with that card, But still, I played with my friends and they were like, dude, that's a competitive deck. And I'm just like, it's a 4 mana, creature that attacks. Like, I'm winning by attacking you. How is that like super competitive? But anyways, let's digress.
Too late.
Did we already go off the wheel?
The wheel's about a mile back.
I'm sorry, podcast.
Fear not. That's what they come for.
Let's come back. Let's come back to the topic.
All right, we're back.
What do you think? You play Commander, right?
Yep.
What do you think about having a Planeswalker as a commander?
I see no problem with it.
Okay. I don't either.
Well, all right, next topic.
See, we didn't even need to talk about that topic. Here's the thing that tilts me about it. I feel like there's not a lot of testing happening. There's just a lot of
theory crafting.
Oh no. What about doubling season? What about this? What about that? To me, all of that stuff is just like, let's get some real testing in, before we talk about like broken commanders and stuff like that. The funny thing is that we have, with Oathbreaker, we have this format. We're going to get to see if there's any broken commanders out there, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Oathbreaker now. And Shivam was saying in the if we can come back to that thing, the podcast that they were on, he was saying, well, if you want to play, commander on a planeswalker as a commander, you could play brawl. And I'm just like, come on, man, that's a cop out. That's a cop out. There is no brawl. That doesn't exist. Okay, I think that playing planeswalkers commander is probably fine. I feel like a lot of the complaints are like, well, what about Teferi and what's the Chain Veil? That seems broken. I'm like, you could play with Teferi as your commander right now. That's already available. Like why are we referencing a commander that is already a commander? That doesn't get to disqualify planeswalkers. I don't know.
I think if anything, the creators of Oathbreaker probably have their fingers crossed and hope that Commander doesn't allow planeswalkers, because then they get to keep their niche, right?
Right.
Like it's a more appealing thing that you aren't allowed to do it in Commander. Like, oh, well, I can use that creative flow, that creative juice that I have that I want to do this with. I'll just go to Oathbreaker, and they might get more traction that way. Who knows what would happen if Commander was like, all right, you can use. I'd like to see any legendary. Caracas, that's my commander.
Caracas.
Why not have batter? Well, that's not legendary, but like any legendary. Why not? Yeah. It's fun. Like, I mean, planeswalkers and legendary creatures, they're so synonymous, right? Like, legendary creatures are just planeswalkers that haven't sparked yet.
No, I think one of the best arguments for not doing it is that it would change the fabric of what Commander is and how it plays. And I think that's fair. I don't think they made this point on this is the thing that kind of tilts me, is like, I feel like the point they're making is it'll be broken or something like that, which I don't think it would be. But what I have not done the testing, so fair is fair. I should do testing if I make statements like that. But what I do think is, yeah, it would change the way Commander is and what Commander is, and maybe we don't want to do that. I like Commander, I like it a lot. So maybe we just don't change a good thing, That could go. I could get down with that. I could be like, if they're like, look, we just don't want to do that because, Commander's already great. Like, we don't need to do anything.
Yeah. Why add diversity to something, Medina?
My life is awesome. Or as you would say, why we should force some diversity, right? That's your favorite thing, right?
All right. Topic number 3.
For those of you who want to get that joke, you can listen to the last episode. There was some pretty interesting talk. I think last episode was much more interesting than this episode, but we do have this cool little banner thing this episode. So,
that's how we're making up for it with prettier graphics.
I feel like this episode, I'll be honest, I feel like this episode is trash.
Whoa!
I do. I do. Do you feel like do you feel like it's going well?
I feel it's going great. Evidently, I'm mistaken in all regards, but that would be the first time in my life where I'm wrong about something.
Oh man, yeah. So for those of you who are still listening and feeling like, man, this episode's trash, I'm with you. I'm right there with you. Maybe talking about these spoilers will change it up a little bit. So we want to transition a little bit. Let's move on from all this drama topic and whatnot. Let's talk about something cool. Modern Horizon spoilers.
Thank goodness.
Okay, I know you've been waiting this whole time. Tell me what you're thinking about Modern Horizons first. Tell me what you think about the set so far.
Well, okay. So before Horizons, I was kind of down on just like new Magic in general. Like, you know what? I want to get this nostalgia cube, and I'm done with new Magic because it's just not as powerful. It's not as fun and exciting. And I told John this I don't know, maybe a week ago, and then all it took was stupid snow-covered basics to make me go,
snow-covered basics, baby.
I'm back. It's so silly, but when I first started was in Ice Age.
Right.
So seeing not only Snow Covered's back, but in full art, and the framing itself gives me that feeling of the Zendikar full arts. So
Yeah.
mixing the Zendikar with the Ice Age, that's peanut butter jelly, baby. So
And I'm the
I am
sucker,
all
right?
in.
I'm the
I am
sucker. Ben
well.
fell. Hook,
There we
line, and
go.
sinker.
And then it just gets better from there. So yeah, why don't you delve into this with us?
Well, let's so there's three we try to say, hey, let's pick some cards to talk about, cuz like I have done spoiler shows before where we're looking at the cards while we're talking and then being like, well, this one looks good, this one, it just devolves into some like not a great commentary. So what we did is we said, let's pick some cards, but there are some cards we should talk about before we talk about our picks, right? And
Yes.
and the cards we should talk about are just like, there's some high profile cards that were printed that we want to talk about their impact in modern and other formats. And that is, we'll start with the Force of Negation. It's like a Pact of Negation and
Wait,
a
did you say
Force of
Force of
Will
Will? Force of Will's in here?
stuck together.
Force of Will?
No,
Did
Force.
they print it?
It's Force of Negation.
Oh, Pact of Negation.
Nope.
No?
Force of Negation.
Okay, so basically they took two things and made a okay thing.
They made it so you think it's just okay, or you think it's like
I,
really
I've
good?
been I've been quite the roller coaster on it. When I first
Well,
saw it.
before we jump,
Oh,
let's read it. Let's read
okay,
it.
let's read
Because
it.
people who are listening might not know what we're talking about. So, Force of Negation is a colorless and 2 blue. It's a blue card, and it's an instant. It says, if it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If the spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard.
There it is. So it checks a lot of boxes for me. One, it has force as the first word in it.
Right.
So automatically I'm like, oh, Force Will. And then it has my signature thing to look for in a counter spell. Does it have red in the art? Boom. Silly to all, but that the Force of Will, they always like to put red in their good art,
Right.
in their counter spells. So I'm like, boom. Force of Negation, it's got the red, it's got force in it, it's instant. You can play it for free. But then it's just non-creature spell. And the only way you can play it for free is on your opponent's turn.
Ooh.
It's where I think I like it more as a control player, which it's more fitting for the control player. I understand why they did it. You don't want to be able to have combo players backing up their combos with force of any kind, will or negation. But it's a lot of hoops to try to get Force of Will. So we'll see if it pans out. I'll certainly want to pick up at least one for either Oathbreaker and or EDH.
Yeah.
Just because I love me my free counter spells.
It's great in Oathbreaker, right? Counter Planeswalker. Boom.
100%. Yeah, especially you can be tapped out and they won't suspect it. So
and it's
that's
also
great.
3 mana. Like it's one more mana than negate, right?
Yes, I like it more of like a 2 of in the sideboard for where that it's a combo deck that you are having to go against. I do not want to have this in my main deck when I'm seeing humans. I'm just looking at it going, oh.
Oh, that's so gross. That is gross. So do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think it'll see play in Modern?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good sideboard card.
Okay.
Like a 2 of. Kind of like our next card as well. I see that as a sideboard card as well.
Okay, and then do you think it's to play in Legacy?
Is there a deck?
Like would Delver want some of these over Force of Wills or?
Man, Force of Will is so good in that format, and you board it out when it's not good. Right. So you're not putting these in your sideboard to board in. So is it going to be
Force of Will, right?
Right. Or is it Force of Will 5 through 8? I maybe like Legacy Fish.
Force of Wills? I don't know.
Yeah, it's already bad card.
Well, could it replace some Dazes maybe?
No. No.
Wow. Yeah.
Nope.
Interesting. Okay. There's your
This is
analysis.
Modern Horizons, not Legacy Horizons.
There's your
I don't know. I don't know
analysis
if you
of
saw the packaging.
it. I did. It
They
looks like
care more
Commander
about.
Horizons to me, though.
Yeah, it's looking a lot like Singleton Horizons.
All right. So the next one is a green spell, and it's called Force of Vigor. And it is 2 and 2 green. It's an instant. If it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments.
Seems exactly what green needs for a sideboard as well, right?
Now, the funny thing, the thing that has been circulating Twitter, which is a funny nombo,
it's cute.
is that people are talking about using this to break up the Karn Microsynth Lattice combo, right?
Well, that's
So,
perfect, right? It's an artifact. You can kill it. What's the
you
problem?
can kill their artifact by removing a card. So like that's the great thing is your lands, they don't tap anymore. But hey, if you have this, you can remove a card. You just have to remove a green card from your hand.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
But wait a second. Mycosynth Lattice makes all cards colorless.
All right. I got something for you.
Double
Painter's
tech.
Servant.
Painter's Servant. Wow. Which one timestamps?
I don't know. That's for a judge.
I think it's the one you play last, right?
I don't know.
The
Maybe
lawyers.
then you hold it, right? You
Judge.
hold it because it's judge.
Oh
So.
man. So but kind of a cool card in EDH. I love it. Really great for when someone's trying to combo off with some artifacts or something like that. You just smash them down. 4 mana for blowing up 2 artifacts.
That's
Right?
still not too bad. Plus,
That's great.
it's not even card disadvantage, right? If you're
Right.
hitting 2 artifacts, it's 2 for 2. So
Yeah, I think it's great. It's good. I definitely want one for my commander binder. I like it a lot. I haven't seen a lot of artifacts or enchantments that I really want to kill in Oathbreaker, except for that Jit who just ran me over.
yeah,
And,
just no joke.
no, it's not. So the other high profile card before we get to our picks, is Flusterstorm is back.
Well, it never was, but it's for the first time appearing in Modern Horizons.
So, well, first of all, the art is insane. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. Can't you wait to crack that in the pack? That's gonna be awesome.
can't
You flip
crack
to your
them
rare and you're
in the pack.
like, wait a minute, how do I get it then?
It's a buy a box promo, and the reason why is because they wanted to add it to the set last minute, and the only way they could do that is make it a buy a box promo. But here's what they're doing: they're making it a non-foil buy a box promo.
So I don't have to run mountains as a proxy.
Right? Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's very cool that the Flusterstorm's in. It will probably impact Modern in some way. I think Flusterstorm's a great card. I've always loved it. And it's just really, really great, especially now that the blue card is there. Because one of the great things is, one of the reasons why Flusterstorm is so good in Legacy is because they can't force a will a Flusterstorm. So, like, if you Spell Pierce something, they could force a will it. But if you Flusterstorm, there's multiple copies in the stack, so you'd have to force will every copy. So you'd have the multiple force will. And
Right.
so now it's funny because they've created that same dynamic here with a free counter spell that also now Flusterstorm interacts with in a favorable way. So very cool to see that in Modern. I'm really excited to see how it shakes up. I don't like Modern, so...
Full spoiler. Hater of fun, hater of Modern.
I just don't like it. I tried it many times. I played the best deck, and I'm just not a fan. But it'll be interesting to see, and I'm not like, hey, if you like Modern, great. Like, I'm all for it. I'm happy that you like it and you found something cool. I just don't like it. I couldn't find myself liking it. I don't know why. But it will be interesting to watch how they play out because I love watching decks like become brewed and like metas form and stuff like that. I love that.
What I also find interesting about this set so far, and we have so few cards revealed, right? So few. What is it that Mark Rosewater has his storm meter, right? To judge the likelihood of mechanics coming back.
Yeah.
And it's called Storm because Storm's never going to come back.
Never, right?
We have 2 cards in this set with Storm. So what does that mean for the power level or the ridiculousness of the set?
Yeah, it must be off the chain.
If he's bringing back mechanics that he doesn't like bringing back, it's gonna be a potent one. That's for sure.
Yeah, it already looks pretty strong.
Yeah, real strong.
So we selected some cards to talk about. You kind of pre-spoiled yours. Do you want to pick another card, or you want to
Nope.
go deep?
Okay. Go deep with the topic. So mine are the snow-covered basics, but the idea of the snow mechanic as well. So the snow covereds, they're iconic at this point. They're kind of pricey, for Scred Red and things like that. So they're already a couple bucks already. So that'll bring the price down, and it also is going to bring the pack price up.
Right, it'll give you some meat in your pack, which is amazing. It's great to, because usually the full arts now, when they put them in the pack, it's like nobody cares unless it's like the unstable ones.
Yeah.
And now these are like, I think essentially like unstable, that level of desirables,
Yeah. Yep.
Because
at least for
the
first part,
serve a certain, they're functional in a certain way, and the boxes are high priced, so these lands will be carrying like a premium and definitely putting the pack prices up there, which is nice.
Yeah, and not only that, the fact that we have snow coverage also means that we do have snow as a mechanic again. They have already spoiled some, nothing too earth shattering.
Yeah.
But that leaves a lot to beg the question of what else is coming. Are they going to do what everyone's wanted since the dawn of the reserve list? Do we get snow-covered duels in some regard?
Wow.
Do we get the snow-covered legendary, or some way to make a dual land that's not a shock? I hope
if they
so.
do snow-covered duels, oh man, this set is going to be
right.
So like bought out, right?
Right, but I mean, there's ways that they can make it not so ridiculous, right? Like if they made it them legendary, right? That'd be a little. It seems like what they're doing here is they're taking legacy cards and trying to make fair versions, right? So would a fair version of a dual land with no downside be that it's legendary? You can only have one. Would that be a fair?
I don't know.
Version of a duel? Well, that's what I'm asking you. Think about it. Put the Medina mind on it.
Did we talk about this? Making
we have
duels
not.
Fair?
Make what?
Making duels fair. Did we talk about? Oh no, this was a conversation I had at a shop. We were talking about different things that could make duels fair. I forget what like some of them were ridiculous. Like, what were some of them? If it comes in play on tap, your opponent draws a card or something dumb like that.
Yeah.
But I think that legendary is an interesting twist on it. I wonder if there's some like some kind of mechanics about like tapping them when they can be tapped, and like like some kind of thaw mechanic or something like that with the duels with snow, where it's like you can tap them so many times for the colors, and then they start becoming like
tap for colorless.
They tap for colorless, or they stay tapped for the for the turn, something like that. Like there were some old Kamigawa duels where like if you tapped it for the color, it would stay tapped, and then you would untap it on the following turn. That feels a bit punishing, but you can always see stuff like the counters, like a gemstone mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like gemstone mine has 3 counters and then it goes away, but like maybe these have 3 counters and then they produce, like you said, colorless or something like that.
Well, my hope is legendary snow covereds with art by John Avon. That is my dream.
No, by Rob Alexander, so he can sign.
No, quit touching cards, Rob. Every time I see one, I'm like, get out of here. I don't want this card. It's got a filthy signature on it.
There's more dual lands signed by Rob Alexander.
Exactly.
There are not signed.
How does he have time to paint when he's signing all these duels? It's ridiculous.
He's making bank.
So that's what I hope to see. I love snow in all regards. I love the mechanic. I love everything snow covered. Winter is coming. Winter is here. Embrace it. And what cards do you have for us?
Oh, okay. So Wait, I wanted to ask you something. Do you think they're
Go
going to
for it.
reprint scrying sheets?
They can't. They can't reprint it.
They can't?
No, it's in Cold Snap. It's modern legal.
Oh, wow. So no Mouth of Ronan, no scrying sheets.
So that's why Scrying Sheets is infinite money right now.
Yeah.
I bet you guys didn't know you had infinite money in your binder
Yeah,
from
scrying
Cold
sheets
Snap.
is worth a bunch of money. Well, everything in Cold Snap is like has just been waiting to pop all the time. So
Yeah, like Commandeer. That's another one's popping off there.
yeah, yeah, all that stuff, man. If you have Cold Snap, you should look up the prices. Just get that
Yes.
little TCG player scanning app and boop boop boop. So the card that I picked was actually Deep Frost Hermit. Okay, this is or Deep Forest Hermit.
I was
Deep
gonna say
Frost.
you're really getting to that snow theme,
I was
aren't
like,
you?
wait, I'm still in the snow theme. All right, so Deep Forest Hermit. It's 3 and 2 forest. It's a oh man, it's a creature elf druid. Okay, it has
No relevant creature types there.
yeah, it has vanishing 3, which means it comes in with 3 counters, and then you remove those counters, and when you remove the last one, it goes away. When Deep Forest Hermit enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green squirrel tokens. Squirrels you control get +1/+1. So this is essentially Deranged Hermit, which is on the reserve list and cannot be reprinted. So
How do they change it?
here's what they did. They changed Echo, which is you'd have to pay the mana cost over again, into Vanishing.
So is that better?
I think it's better.
So do I.
I think it's better, first of all. Second of all, it's funny that they would they take a reserve list card and look at this small tweak they actually make it better in some regard. And now they've printed Deranged Hermit again.
Does that give you hope?
How do you feel about? Well, first of all, the reason I picked this card is I'm super excited to have this and Deranged Hermit in my uncube.
Of course.
Okay, because one of the tribes in my uncube is squirrels. So you have Squirrel Tribe.
But you do realize there's no silver border here, right? This isn't
right.
an
But
uncard.
here's also what you don't realize: when you're designing a cube or a battle box or whatever, you can do whatever you want.
Whoa, whoa.
Okay. So like, boom, break the rules. It's fine. So like with the uncube, I have added a select few black border cards, and there's also stuff with protection from black borders. So nice counterplay there, and stuff like that. So very cool in the uncube, and that's why I picked it, because this is one of the cards I'm excited about. I hope to get a foil. But again, I thought it would also bring up this interesting topic of them printing reserve list cards in this really sneaky, cheeky way. And like you said, maybe this is a kind of a little foreshadowing for some dual land action that we're going to see.
I love it. I think it's great. They're able to skirt around their the anchor around their neck, which is the reserve list. Do it in a clearly cheeky way,
Right.
by actually making it the same card with a strict upgrade to get around that clause, and people love it. So
Maybe the duels will be strictly upgraded.
I mean, what?
Well, they
just
play
do the
You
tri
Gain
lands.
2 life.
You gain 2 life.
I'm just trolling.
That would be But anyway, it's great to see that they're doing this. Hopefully, this is the first of many, and try to get more of the cards that people want, because not every card on the reserve list is a gem, right? A lot of it's just got lumped into it. Exactly. Well, I wasn't going to go with the poo-poo, but
it's poo-poo
or doo-doo. But the fact that they can take the ones that we do want, make a slight tweak, and put them out again, that's very encouraging. That way we can breathe some new life into modern and potentially other formats as well.
It's crazy that Wizards has done it again, right?
I know. Every time I try to get out, they keep pulling me back.
Right when you think you're gonna escape, they just pull you back in. It's funny because like they keep making these sets that look great.
Yeah, I do want to talk about one last card real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No.
What do you?
The podcast has improved.
Oh,
So
whew.
everybody
Well,
who's stuck it out, I think we're actually getting there now. So
we haven't canceled everybody. It seems like it was a little touch and go there halfway through. So
oh
send
man,
all hate mail to at Medina_MTG. But what do you think of the fetch? The basic
the basic,
fetch.
it's the so it's a fetch land that gets a basic, right?
Yep, basic land.
I like it.
How much do you like it? Is this going to be like the other fetches? Is it as good?
Um, so
Since it
like,
can't hit duels, is that important?
let's think about the implications.
So three color decks love this more or less. So a
Well,
Jun deck.
definitely
This is a
less. Three color
less.
decks love it less.
They would love it less.
Yes, yes, because the thing about the three color decks is you need your dual lands because your color requirements are more complex,
Okay.
right?
I was
And so
hearing the
like,
opposite, so that's why it's good to hear a difference of opinion.
well, what I would say is like the initial thought is, well, it's better because you can get one of your three colors
As opposed to the
instead
original
of
fetches, they can only get two.
to get two colors. Have access to two colors in a dual land. This way, you can get any of the three. But the thing is getting two colors at once is important because the next fetch, it's like it builds on each other, right? So the next
Right.
fetch, you get all the colors you need because you get the third color. Now, if you have two of these, you only get two colors. You don't get all three colors, access to all three, because the fetches get the duels. And so I think in a three color deck, it's much less interesting than like a two color deck because then, like you run four of these and then you kind of have your duels in a way. It's like the opposite, instead of like fetching for the duels, you fetch for the basic that you need at the time, and then the duels kind of fill out the rest of the mana base, whereas before you're fetching for duels and the basics are filling out the mana base. You know what I mean? I know it sounds like flip flop, but what I'm saying is that I think having the consistency of these, like four of these, and a nice set of basics with duels, makes it almost like you might not need fetch lands in a two color deck for the duels.
Yeah.
And I do see like, okay, well, fetches are probably superior in those decks, right? Because getting a duel is better than getting a basic every time. But for those who can't afford fetch lands, like I feel like this is a fine way to go.
So where do you see this landing in the short term as far as the dreaded finance area?
Oh,
Is
like
it
how much is it going to be?
like, do you see this in the short term at like $10? Is it $10
Feels
good?
like
Is
a
it
$6 card.
$6 card?
It
Is
feels
this
like $5 or $6.
really okay? And then do you see that clearly it's not going to hit the trajectory of the regular fetches, right?
No, I don't think it will. But
This plateau at like sub 20?
I think it's something that could surprise us because I'm having trouble like figuring out what deck wants to use it and how. But then like there are smart things that happen. There's like smart situations. Like imagine this is the only fetch land that can get a waste.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Which I did see some rumbling that there's no snow-covered wastes.
but like okay, what does that mean? This is the only fetch land that can get a waste. What does that mean? If it means something, then yeah, this starts to climb, into the $10-15 range,
Right.
But it might not mean something, or is there an implication where, you want to fetch a basic over, like for Blood Moon,
It wouldn't matter anyway. Right, because this has already become a mountain.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, before it comes out.
Yeah, but
Gotcha.
you can do that with fetch. The problem is that a fetch is superior in the sense that it can get a basic, or it can get a duel. It's like you're not forced to get duels with fetches. You can always just get basic. So any, I guess what you gain is that you can get any basic with this, where fetches are reduced to 2 basics per fetch land. But like we need to ask ourselves, like, when would you ever need to do that? When would you need to have access to all of the basics? Now in EDH, that's another thing, you know. And what you can't underestimate is EDH players and their mana base.
Yeah.
Because like if you look at the battle bond lands, it's crazy that those are over over shockland prices. You know, like I think the blue black was like $14 or $15. You know, it's just like wow, you know. And
because they see it as a dual land, right? Like
well,
with
it
no
is
downside.
A dual land, you know.
Right.
But the thing
non-fetchable.
is, you can't fetch it, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's like it still doesn't matter with those casual lands. So you know, if this does raise, it'll be because of the commander demand or Oathbreaker demand.
There you go.
You know, it'll be because of that, or some weird thing about the waste, having to fetch for the waste. You know. Which I don't understand why you would need to do that, but the shuffle effect might be interesting for some reason, or you know, something like that, or the thinning, which of course people are, you know,
yeah, it's so negligible. It's not worth the life.
It's not
right?
really, but you know, there could be a shuffle situation where you know certain things interact with the top of your deck in like if there's a colorless deck that uses waste that interacts with the top of its deck. Then having this in there is sweet because you can, you know, shuffle it to go get your waste and then see what's on the top of the deck again, you know, situations like that. But we're going super deep on that. That's
but you know, so more than likely it's going to be like a poor man's fetch land, right?
Yeah, I think or a casual mainstay, you know.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's not to be underestimated. You know, I don't know what it's going. Do we know what's going for right now?
I haven't seen it actually pre-order yet.
Okay, I wonder if I had to start it, I would start at like $4.99 and put up like 8 copies, or probably 4 copies. And if once those 4 copies sold, I take it up to $5.99, and then
that's the Star City way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Star City. Let's look.
It's not on there.
It's not.
Nope.
Come on, Star City.
They're notoriously slow on cards that might be good. That way they can kind of gauge.
Gauge. What about TCG is on there?
Yeah. What's it called again? I don't even know.
I don't know what it's called. But like they should say like pre-order Modern Horizons, and we'll see what's on.
The problem is it was. There it is. Whoa, $30.
$30.
Prismatic Vista is pre-ordering from all the games and Power Leech games for $29.95. But don't worry, shipping's included, everybody.
What is this?
So basically, you want me to pay more for this than a Cons fetch. Obviously not a blue fetch, but
this is wrong.
That is ridiculous. There's only 2 people up there, but wow.
$30. Well, you know, if they get that for it, you know, good on them.
Good on you, Power Leech.
Yeah.
Leeching off the.
Whoa. Let's just be careful here.
To be fair, I don't need to be careful.
You don't. Let's give everybody a fair shake, you know?
Yep.
If they want to gouge people, you know, and extort them, that's fine. You know, it's fine.
That's right. We support criminals. You heard it here.
Hey, by the way, we're not sponsored yet, Power Leech. So,
yeah.
You know, if you are,
you clearly have the money to do it.
All the games, we're looking at you too. We could be talked into taking some of that money that you're, you know, raking in.
So this set is going to. These prices can't hold, but. Wow, everything is just so high. The snow covers are $3. Get out of here. The packs are going to be what, 7-ish, I think.
They're like $10. $10 pack.
$10.
$10.
Yeah, this is redonkulous.
Yeah, this is all pre-order though. The thing
is
like
$18 for Force of Vigor.
You know, I'm curious about the eBay price of that though. Like. What's the eBay? That can't be $30.
That is some stuff there. Yeah, all these are pre-ordering for around $3. All the snow covers. Get out of here, everybody.
Well, that's. I think that's like almost correct, probably.
Jeez.
You don't think that these are $3 cards?
I don't want them to be because I need 40 of each.
Oh man,
don't break my heart. Don't
Like,
break my
come
heart.
on, like the regulars were $3, dude. Like,
No, you can get the red and the blues were around 2.5 to 3, but not the other ones.
yeah, but these are full art, bro.
I do know that, bro.
Oh man, I don't know, man. Sorry to break your heart, but
Yeah. Again, it gets broken every day.
it gets broken every day. Okay, I'm gonna look up this prismatic vista because like I'm questioning my life right now. Um,
Whoa, life questioning decisions are being made here.
because it's just like, how did I miss that this is a $30 card? If I would have put it at $4.99, I think I
You would
would
have
have
been gobbled
I
up,
would have
right?
been fired. I think I would have been fired. Well, there's no eBay's closed auctions for it, but there are somebody asking $54.99 for it. So,
Look at that, $30 the deal, everybody. Hop on it.
yeah,
Old Power Leech, he'll
fifty
set you straight.
dollars. This is crazy.
People just don't know how to evaluate the set yet, right? Because there's so few of it spoiled.
I don't understand.
It
Oh man. So okay, let's finish this up. Let's wrap it up.
Wrapping it up, everybody.
There's so much more to say about Modern Horizons. Maybe we'll do that next time we talk, which will probably be next week, unless something super dramatic happens that we want to talk about. We're not going to cover every ounce of drama. That's not what we're
Nope.
here for. We like to talk about Magic and things that are related to Magic, Magic adjacent things, and not just drama. So, we might not jump on here for drama, but we might jump on here for sweet things. So,
And Cube. If you have sweet Cube ideas, put it in the comments.
yes,
I love Cube.
Ben's still building the nostalgia cube from last
Yes.
episode.
We will get
so if you have ideas, leave that in the comments. And I think if you made it this far, we should give away like a pack of Modern Horizons.
How do I enter?
What you can't enter. So
Oh.
you cannot win. But here's what you've made it this far. Okay, we're gonna end the show. But what we will say is that we're gonna give away a pack of Modern Horizons, which will ship when the set releases in June 14th, which is a ways away. But don't forget, I won't forget you. I will ship your pack. And this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna pick one comment to be the winner of the pack. And we're not gonna pick it at random. We're just gonna pick the most charming comment that we enjoy.
The one that we like the most.
Ben and I are gonna pick. And hey, if we can't figure it out, if we're like really, stuck between two of them, then we'll give away 2 packs.
Yeah.
So
So the comment that says first, don't even try it. It's not gonna be worth it for you.
yeah, unless you add something charming.
Yeah. ...
Yeah. And
Something
maybe
charming.
nobody made it to the end. And then we'll know.
Yeah. we'll know. Your comments will let us know.
We'll let we'll know that you didn't make it to the end. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna stop making the podcast. Okay.
Boom.
Boom. No more Squadron talk for you.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
But those who did, thank you for listening. Ben,
We love you.
Do you have anything to close out? Oh, you know what? Let's tell people where they can find us before we leave.
You can find me here on Squadron Talk. This is where this is my online presence.
We don't want to shut down the podcast because Ben will cease to exist.
Yes, I will poof. However, I do have a Twitter. I believe it is at GamerTagDior. That's how little I know it. But people do say stuff, and I say stuff occasionally. But you have way more of a presence. Why don't you let people know all the different locations that they can find you at?
I'm just going to say one thing. If you want to find me, just go to Twitter and add, Medina_MTG. MEDINA_MTG. You can find that in the comments. I put Ben's in there every time too, in the descriptions. So just follow me on Twitter, and from there I tell all the things that I'm doing. So I'm very happy to have you listening. Till next time.
Caw!